Nora, I'm just going to need you to turn the camera. Just turn. Basically, use this thing to turn it pointing at me, okay? Welcome everybody.
Everybody!
Yes?
Hi everybody, welcome. Thank you to my Aunt Helen Wyman for opening up her home as we have here a memorial service for Grandma and Ceil Shreety Cohen Ashkenazie. Thank you all for coming as we continue to mark her memory and her passing, and we continue to incorporate her into our lives going forward. So I'm going to begin by reading some words from Grandma's niece, Estelle Haber. I'm not Estelle, but I'm going to read her words as she has written them. I am Estelle, my Aunt Ceil's niece. Sounds like a simple relation. Not. You see, my mom, Rachel Haber, Aleha Shalom, Aunt Ceil's only sister and best friend, passed away almost 50 years ago. I am so thankful and fortunate right now to be in Jerusalem. I just met with Helen's, Sarah, and Dave and David this morning. We were speaking about Aunt Ceil, their grandma, and of course, about tonight. I needed to say how much I miss her, and yet have so much peace in knowing that she is at peace. So, back to 50 years ago, Aunt Ceil said she lost her leader. She felt like she could not take another step without her sister. She told me this 2 weeks before entering the hospital emergency room. She was fine then, top of her game. My mother's illness was long, but every day from morning until night, Aunt Ceil did not leave my mom's side. I speak now for myself and on behalf of my brother Jackie. Our memories of the great days of the two families together all the time, as the sisters were so close. Our parents, me, my brothers, Jackie and Alan, Alav Shalom, grew up side by side to Julie, Harry, Helen, and Alan. Great memories, fun, happy times. We have a closeness and a special bond which can never be broken. The closeness with my aunt did not end with my mother's passing. Needless to say, a difficult time for my father, brothers, and I, between my uncles and aunts' families. There were Shabbat dinners, lunches, and holidays all together. My aunt never forgot us. Aunt Ceil and I became friends, always stayed in touch. One illustration of this was we would joke and call each other and say, I'm going to see your boyfriend today. We share many boyfriends. Our boyfriends were our doctors. We made our medical appointments sound like fun trips, because they were. I deliberately, and most definitely, went to all the doctors she went to. No need to ask why. Aunt Ceil, I thank you for waving to me every morning at 7:30 a.m. from your window on Ocean Parkway on my way to work on the SY bus when I retired, calling me to say you are on Ocean Parkway. Come join me. Whenever I was not well, bringing me food to heal me. Sitting with me from early morning till late at night when my father had a heart procedure, on and on, giving me great advice, sharing our observations of life and daily miracles. Getting me. So now, as my eyes fill with tears, how appropriate to write about you, looking out on the old city of Jerusalem from my hotel room. So, now my world is just a little too quiet. I miss you beating me to the punch every Friday to say Shabbat Shalom. Even to the last Friday before you passed, you called me to ask about Celia's bris and wanted all the details. I know deep in my heart you are finer than fine, and I am so very thankful for you. Your loving niece, Estelle.
That's my Aunt Ceil's sister.
So, proceeding right along again, Estelle is not here. She is in Israel. Those were her remarks that she had written earlier. I'm now going to ask Michael Shweki to read something that was written by Eva Brown. right?
Yellows.
Shall I stand where you are?
Yes.
Spot. Without a podium. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. One of my mom's most treasured relationships, friendships, is with an incredible woman, really Yosefi Nakral, named Eva Yelos, and actually resides in Sherman Oaks, California. It's a suburb of LA. She wishes she could be here with all of us, but unfortunately, she's not. She's very close to Grandma and Grandpa, and even worked for my grandpa Sam briefly at the handkerchief company. I have a document here that's a little lengthy, but I'm going to share it with all of you. And here we go. To my dearest and oldest friend Julie and her siblings Harry, Helen, and Alan, I am very sorry to learn of the loss of your dear mother Ceil. She was such a welcoming woman who opened her door to not only her family, but to countless guests over her long and spirited life. Her table was a cornucopia of treats in the true Chalabi tradition. Feeding her children, grandchildren, relatives, and strangers was so natural for her, and always with a smile. In the spring, I believe, in 1972, Ceil adopted me into her family. She was the first Syrian woman I had ever met. We bonded in a flesh. I was interested in her culinary expertise as well as her dedication to community. I saw how she availed herself to help at semachot, shivas, sevets, swanis, whatever and wherever she was needed. She was also a quintessential social butterfly, enjoying outings like shopping with friends or intense baking and cooking forays. She also loved to play cards, and loved the ocean air in Deal, New Jersey at her beloved second home. When Ceil sensed my curiosity and willingness to learn, she said she'd call me the next time she prepared one of her special dishes. And so she did. After my first child was born in the fall of '72, Ceil called me occasionally and told me what she was making and said I could pass by to have a lesson. Before my short walk, I'd stop at the Syrian grocery store and purchase the ingredients needed for my class. Arriving at the house, I was always greeted with a warm smile and an enticing aroma of baked goods coming from her oven. I quickly proceeded to roll up my sleeve and was eager to begin. But first, I was offered a cup of coffee and a goodie, maybe a cat, from a glass jar she kept on the counter. To me, Ceil's hospitality was refreshing. Her door was always open. I remember her sitting on a chair by the front window facing Ocean Parkway, reading and intermittently peering out to see who was approaching on Shabbat. Like our forefathers and foremothers, she welcomed guests, whether invited or unannounced. She was the queen of Hafnasat Orchim. I always thought that someday I'd get her a customized sign for her front door that would read, Tfadal, please enter. I learned many things from Ceil hands-on that I couldn't learn from my own mother, a Holocaust survivor, who lacked patience for me. Ceil trained me step by step to make cheese burekas, fancy eggplant and meat roll-ups, lasagna for Shavuot, mershi in the chemut taluk, sweet and sour style. These dishes I still cook today, almost a half a century later. She also taught me to prepare chicken with mishmish that I suggested and helped produce for a renowned Ashkenazi caterer as the main dish for a banquet I coordinated for a Los Angeles Syrian honoree, Dr. Mossi Faust. And I'll never forget the oh wow moment when I tasted her artichoke hearts with peas, a touch of olive oil, lemon, and oregano. Ceil delighted in watching my facial expression as I complimented her dishes. Ironically, the week Ceil passed, after many years of not serving this particular veggie combo, I cooked the artichokes for Shabbat. Somehow I had a premonition that Ceil, Zichron Ali Bracha, was no longer with us. Since I moved cross country in 1981, I only had several occasions of seeing Ceil. I did call on holidays to wish her Chag Sameach though. In May of '89, our whole family traveled cross country for my younger brother's wedding. The Ashkenazis took us all out for dinner at a local pizza restaurant. Then I came to New York in the winter of '97 with my younger son Gabby, then almost 12, on my way to Jerusalem for my daughter's wedding on the 7th night of Hanukkah. I wanted to buy my future son-in-law a gold watch. As is custom in the Hasidic world, my daughter married into. Ceil invited us to stay at her home on Ocean Parkway. She prepared comfortable beds for us, offered us every and any food in her well-stuffed fridge, and exposed her fully stocked pantry, she made us feel like her home was an extension of our home. Not too much more, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. After my husband Ronnie, Zichron Ali Bracha, suddenly passed in 2011, I needed to get away and go home to New York. My family had moved from the city. 2 of my brothers lived in California, and the 3rd in southern New Jersey. My mother had already passed away. Save for you, my beloved friend Julie, and your mother Ceil. I really didn't have a support group on the East Coast anymore. In the blink of an eye, your mother opened her apartment on East 7th Street to me. She gave me a key and left me a scanned note that I saved, I do not know why, for the past 7 years and kept in my Sefer Tehillim. Ceil is an institution, a warm and loving woman with a serious edge, no baloney, just tachlit. The heart of the matter, the brass tacks, The Nike theme, Just Do It, was very appropriate for her. For all of you that have gathered tonight at her Sheloshim and new Ceil Shreety Cohen, I really do not have to expound further, since my experiences with her are undoubtedly not unique. I am positive that she opened her home and her heart to countless others. She has left a great legacy. Her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and a large extended family to whom she shared her bounty. I love Ceil, my mentor from years ago, who imprinted an indelible mark on me and helped to hone me into the woman I am today. And not to forget her beloved son, whom I worked with for a few years in Columbia Handkerchief, who also taught me valuable life lessons that brought me to a higher level as a businesswoman, who taught me human values, chesed, gemilut chasadim, and told me that this man who was interested in me, Ronnie Yeloz, will make an excellent husband and father. His advice proved true. Both Ceil and Ceil Ashkenazie, may their souls rest eternally in their heavenly abode, were possibly influential in my life. May the generations that came from them have all the zechuyot coming to them through their beloved parents, Sekiyut Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Thank you, Eva, for doing that. We're now going to ask Avi Mizrahi to read some words that were written by his wife, Laura Mizrahi.
Grandma, it's still so hard to believe that we're writing things to you and about you, that you're not physically here with us, that we are gathered here for this purpose, and that this family is moving forward without your presence in our lives. You were truly the powerhouse matriarch of this family, the beginning, the constant, the guide, and the champion of all of us. Day-to-day life has changed knowing that you are not here, and there is something missing at happy occasions without you smiling on the side or dancing in the middle. I can remember so easily spending my summers growing up on 87 Parker, and I'm so lucky that I had those experiences. Walking to shul with all my cousins and grandpa, playing in the backyard, which was truly the biggest backyard ever, family barbecues, Shabbat meals, all of it. My birthday's in the summer, and I always used to spend it living in that house. We also used to have the greatest family gatherings at your house on Ocean Parkway. It didn't matter how many cousins we were, we all fit into that house. We've all since grown and expanded and created our own families. But Grandma, you were always the glue. For many years now, Grandma, you've been my only grandparent, and I can't tell you how happy I am that it was you. God bless you. God bless you. Had so many grandchildren, but you knew how to be so present with me and in each one of us. You would call me at every turn, whether it's for my birthday or one of my kids' birthdays, calling to see how we were feeling if one of us wasn't feeling well, calling before a vacation to wish us a good trip, and after vacation to see how it was, calling to thank me for hosting you, or calling to say hi. I have saved so many of your voicemails because I love them. How lucky was I that you put in such effort to keep in touch with me. Whenever we spoke, you were always cheerful and inquisitive, always showing interest in my life. Whenever I asked you for your opinion on something, you always knew how to guide with precisely the right amount of wisdom from your experience. There are things that you've told me that still stick with me in my mind. It's so clear from everything and everyone is saying about you, that all you knew, you felt, you carried yourself with a smile and endless composure. I can only hope to move through life with the same qualities. I'm sure I can speak for the rest of my cousins in saying that you set forth a great example for all of us. Grandma, I miss you so much knowing that I can't pick up the phone to call you, or I can't invite you to my home for any given occasion. It breaks my heart, and it's hard knowing that my kids won't get to have a relationship with you. But Eli knows how many grandmas he has, because he always remembers to include Grandma Ashkenazie. I know my mom already misses you terribly, and I will look after her. You will always be in my heart, and I hope you will continue to smile at all of us and guide us forward.
Abraham Lincoln. And I will expand shortly. All that I am, or hope to be, I owe to my Uncle Joe. My dear Ceil was a special treasure in our lives, and very specifically in my life. In all ways, she was the ideal mom. Exemplary friend, perfect companion. Unlike many of us, myself included, there were no sharp edges. And her demeanor was one of impeccable kindness and grace. It has been mentioned of her consummate humility and modesty. However that might be, her modest and humble temperament never suppressed her innate liveliness and vitality. Over the past few years, I got to know her a little bit better. Always had warm contact, but my wife, Julie, and I started a little tradition with her for a few years to take her down to Battery Park City. If the weather was lousy, we would go inside the World Trade Center, which was very, very cool. We would bring lunches and cook there. Weather was beautiful. We would sit outside and sit by the water and enjoy the outside of the building. It was an instructive, wonderful time to really get to know her on an intimate level. My mother-in-law, God bless her, was a chatty person. She loved to talk. She was not one to sit there quietly subservient with a completely speechless demeanor. That was not Ceil Ashkenazie. And I have to say something. Over the years, she was my mother. But when my mother, rest her soul, passed, she stopped being my mother. She was my mom. I really considered her my mother. In one of the earlier speeches, a few weeks ago, people gave imagery, metaphor about who Ceil was. One of them was to call her like precious stones. Why are they precious? Because they're beautiful. And they're rare. And I agree with that. She was beautiful and a rare individual. You'll forgive me for revealing a little bit more about myself than I should. I like good food, and I love sitting in a great restaurant and dining in a great restaurant. So my metaphor is that my mom, Ceil, was, metaphorically, like a great restaurant. Where is Shreety going with this? What does a great restaurant have that makes it different from all others? 4 things. 1, it's got a fabulous reputation. Number two, it has wonderful, exemplary service. And it has great food. Okay. So here we go. Reputation. Forget about it. Anybody who knew her knew that she had an absolutely flawless reputation. Would anybody even begin to utter an unkind word about my mom? Impossible. Unthinkable. And it would be, if anybody uttered such an unkind word, it would be unconscionable. So, my mom, my mother-in-law, who eventually became my mom, had the perfect reputation. There was one thing I left out, I want to add now. Another thing about that great restaurant is ambiance. That may be a fancy word, but what does ambiance mean? Ambiance means when you sit in that restaurant, you just absolutely love being there. You love the atmosphere. You love the crowd that's there. You like just sitting there. I'm not a snob. I don't mind an occasional falafel or pizza. But there's nothing like sitting in a great restaurant. Mom was the exemplar of ambiance. When you sat in her presence, you were in heaven. You were delighted by simply being with her, by listening to her speak, by feeling her energy, by getting a sense of who she was and how much she loved connecting with people. Service? You're in a great restaurant? What does service mean? The waiters serve you well. They're not cranky with you. They don't throw stuff at you. They serve you to make you feel welcome. That's exactly what my mom was like. Anytime you went to her home, she served you not just food, but served you with her kindness, with her sense of humor, with her warm smile, with her very, very beautiful, angelic presence, and finally, her food. Anybody who's ever eaten her food knows she was a great cook. But I'm going to turn the food into metaphor because she and her beautiful husband, Sam, created 4 fabulous dishes, special dishes, on nobody else's menu but theirs. And those 4 fabulous dishes are sitting in this room right now. They are Julie, Helen, and Alan. Anybody who knows those 4 knows that they are delicious people. And they are delicious people because of Ceil and of course Sam. And to add to the deliciousness, she was delicious in her own way. Her conversational ability. This was the least boring woman. It was impossible to be bored in her company. And believe me, as somebody who's been in the world of education my entire adult life, I have been overwhelmed with boring company. She was not one of them. Her sharpness of mind. My mother, rest her soul, her mind went the last few years ago. And it was very, very sad to see her. My mom, Ceil, had a sharp mind till the last moment that God gave her. She had the ability to put you at ease. She had an extraordinary memory. She would remember stuff. I don't remember stuff from 3 weeks ago. She remembered stuff from 30 years ago. Okay. Somebody pointed to a watch. There's an old Hindu proverb. If true and unconditional love exists in the world, then it has to be the love between a mother and her children. And by the way, talking about the children, Jacqueline Kennedy once said, if you bungle raising your children, I don't think whatever else you do well matters very much. And God knows, she certainly didn't bungle raising her kids. God bless you, Ceil.
Where do I begin? How do I sum up a 37-year relationship and make it sound as special as it was? Firstly, let me tell you why I'm speaking. When I was newly married, we went to Israel to dedicate a library in honor of Mom and Dad. Dad was the emotional sort, and he was very touched by the whole event. It was Mom who stood up and spoke to everyone to thank them. It was the most eloquent speech. I was awed and amazed. I didn't know she could speak publicly like that. And I was awed and amazed many times throughout our relationship. So this is why I felt like I should be brave and bold and speak. Going with Mom to Israel was always interesting. She would meet up with our cousins, who were maybe third or fourth cousins, a few times removed. But they loved coming to see her, enjoying the care and concern she showed them. The best part of the trip would be when we get in a taxi. This American woman getting in the back of a taxi and start rattling out fluent Arabic. Taxi driver would be like, what? This little American woman came in the backseat of my car and she's talking to me in Arabic. It never ceased to amaze me, and it was every time we went, every taxi we went into, if they were Arabic. It was amazing. Alrighty. Helping was what Mom was exceptional at. When I lived with her on Ocean Parkway, she always looked for ways to help out. She was the best landlord. In the 80s, when the Syrian immigrants started coming to Brooklyn, Bikarim asked Mom to help because of her fluency in Arabic. She gave a lot of her time. She showed me that you're never too old to volunteer. She was also never too old to lend a hand in the kitchen. Last summer, she helped me prepare all kinds of things. Never mind that I thought social services would come and get me for elder abuse. Mom taught me the value of family. She was the glue. She would call me, give me updates on Helen and Julie and Jamie, and I'm sure she'd call them and do the same. I'd get news about Lakewood, Detroit, Virginia, Israel, and even updates about the cousins in New Zealand. She always asked me what's new, but she always had much better and more news than I ever had. I will miss the phone calls asking, did Frances land? Did Danielle do well on her test? Is Lenore retired? Oh my God, she was more in tune than I ever was. I was always like, oh, let me call up and see if she landed, and it never happened. So embarrassing. Mom showed me the value of friendship. How many people can say they had a friend for over 80 years? She also developed new friendships all the time. She would keep in touch with them. And if there was ever a problem, she always knew how to follow up. She really showed me the value of being a friend. And she also saw the good in people because she herself was so good. Excuse me. So when someone wasn't nice, she couldn't understand it because she was so good. Studies say that the most successful and well-adjusted people are the people who have gratitude. Mom was an example of that. She appreciated anything anyone did for her and was thankful for what she had. Tolerance, acceptance, and a strong commitment to Torah values and mitzvot embodied her. She didn't judge. She was respectful of all of us. I want to mention how amazing it was that she read Hebrew. Very few women of her generation read Hebrew. Imagine my shock the first time we went to Sherazine on Rosh Hashanah. My experience of Sherazine on the holidays was always, what is she wearing? What was that? Why is she wearing that? Now imagine my awe when she stands up and starts saying the Amidah. She's one of 6 ladies, maybe, in the 80s saying the Amidah. So again, amazed and awed. And boy, did she love Sherazine. She loved hearing the tefillah there. Nothing else could compare. She figured out how to get there each year. As hard as it was, she did it. Another amazing feat. All right, some people started to touch upon her food. I know at the funeral nobody spoke about her food because there was so much else to speak about, but really, her mechshi eggplant with potatoes, her ribba, her almond, her pasuya, they were off the charts. Lunches were always a special event. Every week, I try to replicate her pasuya. Every week, it falls a little short. There will always be a void, an empty seat at the table that can never be filled, but she left us with so much. My life will forever be impacted by her teachings and her leading by example. And yes, my mother, let's leave off in-law, like she always said. May she rest in peace.
When I think about Grandma, there are 2 things that come into mind, which everyone spoke about, and when everyone speaks about the same things, then you know that it's very true. One thing is her happiness, how content she always was. And the second thing was her memory. When you went to speak to her, when you heard stories from her, she said the story from 60 years ago, as if it happened yesterday, the date, the time, the place, the people that were there, every single detail. And we asked her, Grandma, how do you remember every little detail? And she said that if you eat a piece of dark chocolate every day, then you're going to remember. Now, whether she's right or wrong, I don't know, but I think it's a little deeper, the reason why she was able to remember everything. We're limited on time, so I'll try and make it quick. In the beginning of the Torah, in Parashat Bereshit, there's a story. Cain, Adam has 2 children, Cain and Hevel. Cain takes from his fruits, he worked the land, he had fruits, he took from his fruits, and he brought a korban to Hashem. The Pasuk says, V'gam Hevel hevi, and Hevel saw what Cain did. He says, that looks like a good idea. And he took his sheep, he took his best sheep, and he made a sacrifice for Hashem. Hashem accepted Cain's korban, Hevel's korban, but not Cain's korban. So Tosafot points out over here 2 points. Number 1, Cain was the originator of a korban. He invented it. He came up with this idea. He understood that it's a very good thing to bring a sacrifice to Hashem. It was all him. And the Pasuk continues and says, V'gam Hevel hevi. Hevel also brought. V'gam means what? Hevel didn't even know what he was doing. He had no idea, what's a korban? Why would I bring korban to Hashem? He didn't understand what it was. But he said, if Cain's doing it, it makes sense, I'm going to do it also. And he went and he did. And not only that, it says that Hashem accepted his korban and not Cain's. Tosafot asks, what do you mean he accepted his korban? He got killed immediately. Right after he brought the korban, Cain killed him. So what does it mean that Hashem accepted his korban? He died right away. Says Tosafot, from here is the first proof in the Torah that there is an olam haba. That Hevel, korban that he brought, this korban that he didn't even know what he was doing, he didn't understand what it was, this korban he immediately received all of his olam haba from this korban. Why? Our rabbis tell us because he brought from the best sheep. Cain didn't bring from the best, Hevel brought from the best. What did Hevel see that Cain didn't see? Cain is the one who originated the korban. What did Hevel understand that Cain didn't understand? So the Rambam when he brings down a law, the Rambam says, he brings from this a halakha. He says, whenever we do something for Hashem, he says, whenever we do something for Hakel, for the God in Shamayim, we should always do it from the best. You go buy a lulav and etrog, you should buy the best. Whatever mitzvah you're doing, you buy tefillin, buy the best. Whatever you do, it should be the best. But the Rambam adds one word that he never adds when he speaks about Hashem. He says, when a person comes to serve Hakel Hatov, the good God, he should bring from the best. The Rambam is telling us that when we recognize that all of the good that we have is coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we're not entitled to anything, and nothing is supposed to be coming to us, we have no high expectations, everything that Hashem gives us is a gift. Hashem is Hakel Hatov, He's the good God, who everything we have comes from Him. That's when a person is going to be happy, and he's able to give from the best that he has for Hashem. I think this is what Grandma had. Grandma did not expect anything. As it was just said, she had a tremendous amount of gratitude. Every second of her life was gratitude to Hashem. Every story that she said, every single thing that she lived was all, she didn't expect it coming to her. Whatever she had, it was a gift from Hashem. There are two words that sound the same. One word is shachach. Shachach means to forget. And there's a word called shachiach. Shachiach means common. The more common something is, the more a person comes to forget it. If it's not common, if a person doesn't take it for granted, he doesn't forget it. Grandma didn't take anything that she had in her life for granted. Her life was not an easy life, as we heard. And as she always told us stories, she was an almanah for 23 years living by herself. When she was younger, she told us she didn't have enough money for a coat. She took newspapers, stuck them into her clothes, and that's how she went out to go to the store. It was freezing cold. That was what it was. And when she said the story, she said it as a matter of fact, yeah, that's what we had. We stuck newspapers into our jacket, and that's how we went to the store. She wasn't bitter about it. It wasn't difficult for her. She talked about her husband, the years that she had with her husband, how they were the greatest years of her life. She never talked about, the last 23 years of my life, I was by myself. When you saw her, you weren't even able to tell that she was living by herself, that she lost her husband 23 years ago. You couldn't see anything in her that would show that this lady had any kind of suffering, any challenges in her life. You couldn't see any of the challenges. Every story that she said was with a smile, even if it was a challenging, difficult story. She accepted everything from Hashem with love. It's something you think about it, it's something unbelievable. Every time you saw her, when she said over whatever she was talking about, as challenging as it was regular. Because why? She recognized that everything that she had came from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It doesn't matter how challenging it was, it's from Hashem. And she appreciated it because she understood that Hashem is Hakel Hatov. I'll tell you one more point. One time, I was feeling a little pain in my chest. So I went to Dr. Eilenberg. He's a doctor, my children's doctor. I went and asked him, I said, Doctor, should I get myself checked out? I'm feeling a little pain. So he tells me, he says, it's just stress. I said, okay, how do I alleviate the stress? What should I do? So first he told me, I'll write you a prescription for 2 weeks in Florida. And then he told me something unbelievable. And really, this is what Grandma was. He told me, lobsters in the ocean, they have a shell. They have a shell. The shell is very hard. And as the lobster grows, the shell does not grow with the lobster. And when the lobster gets too big for the shell, the lobster goes under a rock, and he removes his shell that he has, and he goes and finds a bigger shell, and that's his new shell. And he continues like this throughout his life. He asked me, he says, how does the lobster know that it's time to get a new shell? He said, because he feels the pressure. He feels as his body is growing, there's pressure. And he feels the pressure, and he says, it's time for me to get a new shell. And he goes under a rock and he looks for a new shell, or grows a new shell. Exactly how it works, I'm not so sure. But when he feels the pressure, that's when he knows it's time for a new shell. So he told me, the stress that we have in life, it's the opposite. You don't want to get rid of it. You don't want to have a blissful life. That's not what we're here for. We're here to take the challenges of life and to grow from them. And the more stress a person feels, that means he's growing. He's a person who's growing. He's a person who's becoming greater. Grandma had a tremendous amount of challenges in her life. You know, it would have been very easy for her if she would have saw her cousin who was marrying a Goya and said, listen, it's not my business, it's very stressful to go to a lady and start talking to her and telling her that your child is making a mistake and everything that she went through. It's much easier, it's a lot of stress, who needs to deal with that? The lady may never talk to you again. No, if this is the right thing to do, it's stress, it's a challenge, I'm rising to the challenge and I'm doing it. Every single story that we heard about Grandma was the exact same thing. There was challenge, and she rose to the challenge. And that's how she grew, and that's how she became so great. And the Maharal says, where does true happiness come from? Happiness does not come from physical pleasures. Happiness comes, it's an emotion of the neshama, his words are. It's an emotion that the neshama feels. When the neshama is growing, the neshama is getting closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's when a person feels happiness. He says animals are capable of emotions. They could have fear, they could care for their children, but the emotion of happiness, that animals cannot have, because you need a neshama for that. And since only human beings have a neshama, they are the only ones that could have true happiness. So if you want to know where Grandma's happiness comes from, this is where it comes from. Because of the challenges of her life that she rose to, and she overcame all these challenges, and she grew to get closer and closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that was what her life was about. And when you hear her talking about her children and her grandchildren, that's all she talks about, is how much they are growing and getting closer to Hashem. So if we could take these two lessons from Grandma's life, that her memory was so great because she appreciated everything. It was not just common to her. Everything that happened was something special, and therefore she remembered everything. It's all from Hashem. And to take the challenges of life and grow from them, we will keep Grandma's neshama alive. Tien nafshat tzerura b'tzura nachem.
زي خيرات وبيخ يبيع بزكاة خير